That's right, you heard me. You read that thumbnail right. I hate sunscreen. Yep. And right now, the skincare community would be freaking out if they actually saw this video because I hate sunscreen. Hi, I'm Jennifer Scott. Welcome to my channel, J Scott Beauty. So yeah, sunscreen, never been my favorite thing. Never, ever, ever. As a matter of fact, I totally trace it back to when I grew up. I've said this a couple times. I'm a child of the 70s. I grew up with a swimming pool in my backyard. We used to go to the beach all the time. And sunscreen wasn't a thing. I really don't remember seeing sunscreen at all in my house until probably, I don't know, the early 80s maybe, like 80, 81, 82, something like that. So yeah, sunscreen was just not part of my growing up until it had to be part of my growing up. Now, at some point, we all had to use sunscreen. Our mothers made us use it. It was thick and goopy and sticky. And if they bought that zinc oxide kind, it was just that white paste that you couldn't rub in. It just stayed white. Like the lifeguards with like their white nose. It was so gross. I hated it. Hated it for years. And even like as an adult, when I knew I had to be taking care of my skin, I would use it begrudgingly, but only when I absolutely had to. Like if I was going to be at my mom's pool for the day, or if we were taking the kids to the beach, or, going to be at the zoo all day outside in the blaring sun, then yeah, I would wear sunscreen. I wouldn't be happy about it. And the first thing I would do when I would come home is run upstairs and take a shower to get it off me because I just could not stand the way it felt on me. I'm very tactile. If I don't like the way something feels, it just ruins everything for me. So sunscreen and me have never been a unit. Okay, so that is until this spring when I came across the Beach Shield. So if you saw my favorites 2020 skincare, you saw the Beach Shield was in there. And I've mentioned it in a couple other videos. I do love this. Now, I know I need sunscreen because of all the actives and treatments that I do on my face on a daily basis. So what is the point of me, using all these ingredients for cellular turnover, reducing hyperpigmentation, promoting collagen, when not wearing sunscreen just undoes all of that? And let's face it, I spend a good amount of money on those products. So I have to take care of my face, whether I like it or not. Luckily, I like it now. Now, those of you who have been lucky enough to grow up with some decent sunscreens because maybe you were born in the 90s, well, you're lucky. The rest of us had to slog our way through a whole bunch of crap until we were able to find stuff that we could tolerate. Now, for my body, there are some sprays that dry down and you don't feel them, so I'm fine with that. But for my face, for years, I couldn't find anything, mainly because I wear makeup pretty much year round. And wearing sunscreen under makeup just never, ever worked. Ugh, so gross. All right, so let's go back a little bit. There are two different types of sunscreens. There's chemical and there's mineral. First of all, sunscreens in the United States are regulated by the FDA. They're considered a drug and not a cosmetic. The reason being is that they can actually prevent skin cancer. So that is considered a drug. So that's why the FDA is all up in the business, but they actually do the regulating and set the standards for what is considered an SPF. So that's super important. However, because they are like a slow moving old machine, they haven't embraced any of the new wonderful sunscreens from other parts of the world, like in Korea, where they have amazing technologies that have brought about beautiful sunscreens that have changed the sunscreen game entirely. So if you get any K-Beauty sunscreens here in the United States, whether you buy them and have them shipped over, or if you're lucky enough to find them here, you're not gonna find them labeled with an SPF normally because the ingredients that they use, the filters that they use, are not considered an SPF here by the FDA. So you're gonna find them called different things. Like this is called, I think, a beauty fluid. So that's why it's important to read the label, because if you really pay attention to what you're reading, if you read through the lines, you understand that it is a sunscreen, just not labeled so here. Now the Beach Shield, the reason why this is my current favorite is, let me show you. Do you see how like lightweight that is? So beyond that, now I do have hand lotion on my hands, so let's see if this works. It is very light and it sinks in pretty much immediately. You use this at the end like the very last step in your skincare routine. So after your moisturizer's on, I actually like to wait for the moisturizer to kind of like set and dry down, and then I go in with this, because you got to use a decent amount of it. I think you're supposed to use a teaspoon for your face. So when you do that, you are going to have to give it a minute to set down on its own. You don't want to put it on top of something that's already wet, but this dries down and you don't even know it. And when I mean you don't even know it, you don't even know it. You do not feel it. You don't notice it later in the day. It doesn't, make your skin shiny or oily. It doesn't get shiny or oily several hours later. You don't notice it. That's why I love this. It's great under makeup. So I am using sunscreen now because of the beach shield. But then I was like, okay, so I have to get the beach shield online. It takes a few days to get here. I want to be able to get sunscreen when I want it, sometimes now. I want to be able to go to a store and get it. So I started researching and looking for other brands that I could get locally. So the other one I got is from Biossance. This is the squalane in zinc. So this product is twofold. It's great for people with dry skin because it has the squalane in it, which is a natural moisturizer for your skin, and it has the zinc oxide, which is your sunscreen. So if you are dry, but you need a sunscreen and you don't want a sunscreen that's going to dry down and be matte, this is the perfect thing for you. Now, sometimes I liked it in the summer, most times I didn't. I find I like it better in drier weather, like this time of year in the winter. Yeah, that's right. Sunscreen in the winter. We'll get to that. But either way, I really like this. It's not for me year round like the Beach Shield is, but it does have its time and place. And then recently I just got First Aid Beauty's Weightless Liquid Mineral Sunscreen with zinc oxide. Are you noticing a trend here? Zinc oxide is my thing. Yeah, we'll get to that. This here is really great for a couple of reasons. So if you can see here, if I can get it out, there we go. It's tinted, which you're like, tinted? Well, so far, my Biossance doesn't leave a white cast, and this doesn't either. And it leaves like the lightest natural skin tint. I put on too much for a hand size, but let me just show you. It rubs in nicely. It feels moisturizing, but you can tell there's a difference in the shades of my hand. This one has the Beach Shield on it. This one has the First Aid Beauty. So it's nice to give your skin like just a nice little pick-me-up, although I would have less than this on. So it actually thins out even more and it's not as deep. But what it does do is it dries down so nicely and I don't even notice it. Are you sensing a trend here? Dries down, I don't notice it, isn't oily. Yeah, that's what I need. That's what I'm looking for right now. And then there's this little beauty from Tarte. It's a powder. What? I know. So here's the brush right in here. There's a little plunger here that you press. I don't know if you can see the powder is dusting up in the air. And then you can touch up. Just dab it on your skin to touch up. You know how they say you're supposed to reapply your sunscreen a few times a day? Yeah, that I find to be gross. I don't like if I'm in the summer and I'm outside and I've been sweating, but yet it's time for more sunscreen. I don't want to put more on top of my already shiny, oily face. It skeeves me out. But what I do like is this. So this again is a twofold product. It's sunscreen in mineral form in a powder, but it also takes down the shine and oil that I get while I'm sweating during the day in the summertime. So this is a dream for those touch-ups and reapplications. Now I know you're thinking, why is she talking to me about sunscreen? It's freaking December. Yep, that's the point. It is freaking December. It's starting to snow. We're gonna have ice soon. And that's a terrible time for the sun's rays. They actually reflect off the snow and ice. So not only are they hitting you, they're hitting the snow and ice and bouncing up and hitting you again. So you're getting almost like a double dose of the sun's rays in the winter. So if you do any sorts of winter sports, like you're skiing, snowboarding, snowshoeing, even just going for walks or runs in the winter, you are still susceptible, if not even more so, to the sun's rays. So because it's winter, it doesn't mean you can stop using these. You have to continue. And in some cases, you actually need to use more. So if you are doing any outdoor winter sports, you need to use more of your products than you normally would. That's why for me, having something that dries down and you don't feel on, or can go under your makeup and you don't even notice it. It doesn't affect it. It doesn't make your foundation pill or run or smudge or just be gross and oily, cakey. That's why you need these products. So for any of your products that you buy in the United States, they should be labeled broad spectrum, which means it's going to cover the UVA and UVB ultraviolet. The UVB causes the actual sunburn that you're going to see at the end of a day from being outside. The UVA, that's the sneaky little bitch that gets into your skin and starts doing the long-term damage. It starts messing with your melanoma, giving you hyperpigmentation, premature aging of your skin. That is what we want to avoid at all costs. So for me, I don't spend a lot of time outside in the sun. It's not my thing. I am not a winter sports girl. I'm more of like a winter sofa girl. Whatever, to each their own, right? But I am using all these products on my face morning and night to kind of stop time. I just want to freeze time, maybe reverse it a couple of years if I can. But if I'm not using sunscreen and I go outside, literally it'll react with my hyperpigmentation and it'll bring it out again. So I'm working so hard to get rid of my hyperpigmentation, and I've been doing it on my neck a lot lately, and this is going to be kind of a focus. We're going to see how far I can get on my own by springtime with the products that I have. So keep an eye on me. Let's see if I'm able to make any changes, because I'd like to be able to make as many changes as I can with in-home products. I know I should go to the dermatologist and get a laser. I don't know, do I have an extra $750 for each treatment? I don't. So right now I'm gonna see how well I can do on my décolleté this winter with the products I have at home, combining that by using my sunscreen. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, definitely use your sunscreen even when you're indoors. I'm kind of like back and forth on that. So the UVB rays don't really penetrate windows, like at your home or your office, your car windows. However, UVB, those are a little bit of a problem because about 50% of those rays actually do penetrate the windows in your house, your car, your office. And if you get your nails done, gel nails in particular, you're putting your hands under a little UV lights. So honestly, you should be putting sunscreen on your hands 20 minutes before sticking your fingers underneath those lights, because you are purposely exposing your hands to UV lights, and that's not great over the long term. I mean, the backs of these hands are showing some age, and I'm working on those too, but what a giant pain in the ass. You don't want to have to do that. Avoid it at all costs if you can. Put some sunscreen on the back of your hands after you get your nails done and before they go under the UV light. So if you've noticed, these products here that I use are mineral sunscreens. So I have found that the mineral sunscreens that are newer on the market right now are great for what my needs are. Traditionally, it was always the chemical sunscreens that were a little more elegant. Those were the ones that went on smoother, didn't leave a white cast, sometimes would dry down. So those were the ones you were able to get more readily also. The mineral sunscreens contain one of two or sometimes both ingredients, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. So that's how you know what kind of sunscreen you have. Just turn the bottle over and look and see what the ingredients are. If it just says zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, that's a mineral sunscreen. Now, for a long time, especially for people of color, they really stayed away from mineral sunscreens because they left that heavy white cast. I mean, zinc was always a thick white paste. So until recently, it wasn't one of the favorites for people who had skin any darker than mine, which is most of the world, because let's face it, I'm one of the pastiest people out there. So everyone else always had to use chemical sunscreens. That wasn't a big deal because they were usually a nicer quality, they went on nicer, you didn't have a white cast, so it was an overall better product. I've just found for me that using the mineral sunscreens of these newer generations is working great for me. So do I still hate sunscreen? No, I don't. I've actually started embracing it as just another step in my skincare regimen that's helping me stop time from traipsing across my face. And this summer I was even more diligent in making sure that I was using it on my hands and on my neck and décolleté when I was going outside, because this is really bothering me a lot. Now here again, I don't expect to take my skin back to what it was when I was in my 20s, but that's okay. I'm only trying to do the best I can with what I have right now. Now, if you're watching this, you're probably a skincare fan just like I am. So I hope you're either using sunscreen or you're now thinking, yeah, this is something I need to add to my regimen. I would recommend definitely these two for everybody. I would recommend this Biossance one here for anyone with dry skin, and I recommend this one here to anyone who has been outdoors, their sunscreen needs to be reapplied, but they just don't want to put another layer of lotion on top of their shiny face. So yeah, it's wintertime, and I'm telling you to use sunscreen, and I mean it, because if I'm going to do it, someone's got to do it with me. And just to show you where we are, it's about 5 minutes later, and if you look at the backs of my hands, this is the one that had the beach shield on it, and this is the one that had the First Aid Beauty that had a bit of a tint to it, and you can see they're both completely dried down. There's no white cast. This is a little, bit more tan, if you will, but barely noticeable. Anyone who has, a shade of skin, anything, darker than mine, you won't even notice this. Now, I'm not trying to bully you. I'm just trying to gently coerce you into using sunscreen, because if you're using all your treatments, you may as well protect what you're trying to fix in the first place. Well, short and sweet, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will link these products in the box below, as always. If you have any questions, please post them down below. Definitely talk to your dermatologist because they have all the answers. I have some. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell for notifications. I upload 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 12:15. Thank you so much for being with me. Mwah.